This is a grammar review video, so I'm going to go through things pretty quickly. If you find yourself confused, pause, go back, watch it again, do some practice, look online for another resource, come in early tomorrow morning, or go back and watch one of the videos that go more in depth. Okay, we're going to start with prepositions because this is the most helpful thing to do at the very beginning of marking any sentence. If you find the prepositions, then you know that the only other kind of part of speech that you will find inside a preposition would be adjectives or adverbs. You will not find any other kind of noun within them. You will not find verbs, and that makes it really helpful. I don't know that you need to memorize all prepositions, but you absolutely need to be very familiar with the concept behind them and that they show relationships, that they have to end with a noun, and be familiar with many of the prepositions that begin prepositional phrases. Some key ones that I think people continue to get mixed up about are because of, according to, in back of, and then you just want to know that there are some that you will see over and over again. After, of, by, for, from, really, obviously, lots of these. But going through, reading them aloud, knowing that you have actually looked at each of these words would be helpful. You want to be able to find the prepositional phrases basically in your sleep. Once you find the prepositional phrases, you realize there's a lot less that you actually need to do with marking up. I want to point out that if you have something like this, of my favorite subjects, then one, which initially looks like it's an adjective, ends up being the subject. Then I have a linking verb, and finally, grammar is working as a predicate noun. Remember that the simple subject and the simple predicate will never be a part of a prepositional phrase, nor will many other things, like direct objects, indirect objects, predicate nouns, and verbs. I've said this over and over and over. You have two kinds of main verbs, an action verb and a linking verb. You must have one of these in every independent clause. Remember, you'll never mark a sentence and have just a helping verb. They are never ever alone. But there may be more than one helping verb in a clause. For the most part, sentences are structured as such. Subject, helping verb, and then a main verb, which could be an action verb or a linking verb, and then come the complements. Complements for action verbs would be direct objects, and if there's an indirect object, that would come before the direct object. In linking verbs, there are predicate nouns or predicate adjectives. Remember, with both, you can also have none. If you can write out this chart, then you know that you understand verbs. It's exactly what I just talked about. You've got action verbs over here with direct objects and possibly indirect objects or nothing. You've got linking verbs that link the subject either to a predicate adjective that's describing it, or predicate noun that's renaming it, or no complement at all. And then you have helping verbs that come in and help out one of the other verbs. Helping verbs can never be by themselves. Remember that you will only find direct objects and indirect objects in sentences with action verbs because the direct object receives the action. Susie likes Aaron. Who does Susie like? She likes Aaron. Aaron receives the action. He ate after practice. He ate what? The question cannot be answered. If it said he ate Cheetos after practice, then Cheetos would receive it. But in this case, after practice is actually working as a prepositional phrase. And you cannot find a direct or indirect object inside a prepositional phrase. Indirect objects will occur only in clauses with direct objects. So if you don't have a direct object, you don't have an indirect object. You will not have an indirect object without a direct object, and there are sentences where you won't have either. The basic structure of a sentence with a direct object is subject, action verb, indirect object, direct object. Do not look for the indirect object after the direct object or before the actual verb. Remember that linking verbs are verbs that connect or link the subject to a word at or near the end of the sentence. It's complement, a predicate adjective or a predicate noun. Sarah is a runner. Runner is renaming Sarah, so it is a predicate noun. The winner was arrogant. Arrogant modifies winner, but it comes after the linking verb, and that's why it's called a predicate adjective. This house seems small. This house is small. This house equals small. Seems is the linking verb. Small is modifying this house, and so it's a predicate adjective. The pie tastes sour. The pie is sour. Sour is modifying pie. It's a predicate adjective. The most common linking verbs are some form of the verb to be. Other verbs that can be linking verbs, or sometimes action verbs, depending on how they are used in the sentence, are these following ones: appear, feel, look, grow, turn, remain, stay, smell, sound, taste, become, seem, prove. Here are some sentences where we can practice identifying linking versus action. She appeared in the door. She all of a sudden was there. It's an action verb. She appears tired. She is tired. Tired is a predicate adjective. It's modifying the subject, separated by a linking verb. The nurse feels the baby's forehead. We can see the nurse go over and feel the baby's forehead. Forehead is the direct object. This is my action verb, subject. This is an adjective. The baby feels hot. The baby is hot. Hot is modifying baby. This is a predicate adjective, linking verb, and there's my subject. The dog looks out the window. We can see the dog looking out the window, wishing to go outside. Or we could say the dog looks bored. The dog is bored. Bored is modifying dog. That's a predicate adjective. I've got this linking verb, and here's my subject. Let's practice just a little bit more with predicate adjectives and predicate nouns. The park is never dirty. Here's my linking verb. Dirty is modifying park, and so that is a predicate adjective. And never is modifying dirty, and that is an adverb modifying an adjective. The students in the hallway were tired and quiet. Who was tired and quiet? The students, which is in the subject. So I've got a predicate adjective, predicate adjective. Both are modifying students. Here's my subject, and here's my linking verb. Here is a treat for your enjoyment after the test. A treat is here. This is my subject. Remember that here or there is always going to be an adverb. Is my linking verb, and in this case there is no predicate adjective or predicate noun. I wanted to also practice a question. Remember, if you are looking at a question and you are struggling, you can always rephrase it into a statement. So in this case, I would put, sorry for my handwriting, the haunted house did feel scary. It helps me remember that this then is the subject. I've got this verb phrase. Feel ends up being a linking verb. Did is my helping verb. Scary is modifying house, and it is a predicate adjective. I could then go over, here's an adjective as well. I could then go over and mark up the sentence exactly the same. Helping verb, linking verb, predicate adjective, subject, adjective. The cheers coming from the stadium were loud. We had this kind of sentence on our last quiz, and it was a little confusing. Loud is modifying cheers, so is coming is modifying cheers from the stadium, and then my linking verb is were. Adjectives have one part of speech that they modify, and that is nouns. They're always answering one of these questions: which one, what kind, how many, how much, or whose. If a noun has two adjectives modifying it and the order can be reversed, put a comma between the adjectives, as we did here, the old red car. If the nouns must stay in a certain order, no comma is needed. 5 red cars. Okay, there are 3 kinds of words that adverbs modify. They modify adjectives, they modify verbs, and they modify other adverbs. So I want to look at examples of each of these. First, adverbs that modify adjectives. The view from the mountaintop is almost breathtaking. I've got this linking verb that's linking breathtaking to the view. Here's my subject. This is my predicate adjective. And almost is modifying the predicate adjective. So it's an adverb modifying an adjective. The students were in a completely ebullient mood. In a completely ebullient mood because of the upcoming holiday. I've got two prepositional phrases. I have a linking verb. I've got my subject. There is no predicate adjective or predicate noun in this case because I have two prepositional phrases, and you will never find a predicate adjective or predicate noun within prepositional phrases. Here's my object of the preposition. Ebullient is modifying mood, and that is an adjective. And then we've got completely is modifying ebullient, which is an adjective. So that makes this an adverb that's modifying an adjective. It has the telltale sign of ending in an ly. Okay, let's talk about adverbs that modify other adverbs. And actually, within this, we can also talk about adverbs that modify verbs. So we're looking at these three sentences, and I'm just going to mark them up. They are speaking. Here's my verb phrase, helping verb, action verb. How do they speak? They speak softly. This is an adverb that's modifying a verb. How softly? So softly. And so I have an adverb that's modifying another adverb. So in this one, you see an adverb that modifies a verb, and you see an adverb that modifies another adverb. The next sentence, you delivered. Here's my action verb. What did you deliver? Your speech. Here's my direct object. Your is modifying speech. It's an adjective. And how did you deliver it? Oh, you delivered it perfectly. So this is an adverb that's modifying a verb. How perfectly? Just perfectly. So it's an adverb that's modifying another adverb. And then the final sentence, the basketball team wins quite often. Here's my action verb, my subject. This is an adjective that's modifying the subject. And then, how do they win? They win, or when do they win? They win often. That's an adverb, and quite then is modifying that adverb. So again, we've got an adverb that's modifying a verb, followed by an adverb that's modifying another adverb. I want to give you just a couple of reminders, common mistakes that I have been seeing in class. Remember that there are 5 kinds of nouns, and any noun in a sentence can only be one kind of noun. The 5 kinds are subject, predicate noun, direct object, indirect object, or object of the preposition. Once you have identified that a noun is the object of the preposition, it will not be anything else. That's why it's so great to find the prepositional phrases. Finally, I just want to give you a reminder about how we see verb phrases in a sentence and what the structure of sentences end up looking like. In this sentence, the girl had given her friend some cookies. I've got my subject, then I have this verb phrase, and I know that the last verb in the verb phrase is either going to be an action verb or a linking verb. Every other verb in that verb phrase is going to be a helper, and those come before the main verb. The girl had given, what had she given? Some cookies. To whom? To her friends. I've got an adjective, and then I've got my handy direct and indirect objects. I also wanted to show you how does this then look when we put it into a question. Remember that questions start with helping verbs. And you can see that if you were on a test and you had a question and you were confused, you could rewrite it into a statement, as I did here. Had the girl given her friend some cookies? All parts of speech are exactly the same as they were in the sentence below. It's just that because it's a question, it starts with the helping verb and then goes subject, action verb, and everything else. And then finally, she has been tired for the entire week. She is my subject. Then I have, again, a verb phrase with 2 verbs that ends with a main verb, in this case a linking verb, and then everything before that is a helping verb. What has she been? She has been tired. There's my predicate adjectives. And then we've got a prepositional phrase.